Greetings, greetings, greetings. Merry Christmas, Happy Boxing Day. Whatever you may be celebrating, it is John. This is WrestleScope TV. It is the weekly. I'm waiting to see. There we go. It is live now. We are live on YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're listening to the recorded version of the podcast, thank you very much. Do you like my jacket? Hold on a second. Let's see if we can get the lights to work here. Oh, look at that. We got the special lights going. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. All right, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Oh, my goodness, and I realize I have to change the picture. There we go. First of all, before we get started today, let's see if I can point in the right direction. There we go. If you have not followed me, please subscribe. The button's down there at the bottom. Give me a subscribe here. Give this broadcast a like. Also, feel free to follow me on all of my social media at WrestleScope TV on TikTok, at TV_Wrestle on Twitter, and at WrestleScope on Instagram. All right, let's kick things off right away. We see it right here. The celebration. It finally happened. Big E is the new Intercontinental Champion. And it was a great match. We've had some decent build over the last couple of weeks. You knew this match was going to end up happening. Sami Zayn trying to run away, and it was perfect the way that they booked it. They booked it where they had Sami Zayn run off, and Apollo Crews looking very impressive with some fantastic closing speed, knocking down Sami Zayn at the top of the ramp. Apollo Crews, Otis, Chad Gable, and the Street Profits all carrying Sami Zayn back to the ring. Big E gets a couple of moves in, hits the big ending, and we have the new Intercontinental Champion and the huge celebration, which hopefully this is a sign of a coronation of a potential big singles run for Big E. But who knows? The reports have come out that Vince isn't excessively high on him, on Big E, isn't sure if he's a main event guy. I want to see, I actually wish this would have happened a month ago, because I would have liked to have seen Big E have a 4, 6, 8 week run as Intercontinental Champion going into the Royal Rumble. And if they're going to schedule him to win the Royal Rumble, give him an even bigger build, give him at least one pay-per-view, which would have been TLC, to defend the title, go in strong. That's what I'm thinking right now. Big E is not going to win the Royal Rumble because it's too soon. We're 5 weeks out from the Royal Rumble, and unless he's getting 5 consecutive Friday nights defending the title, which would be awesome, and having fantastic matches, it's too early to build Big E up to win the Royal Rumble and get that main event slot, or what would be the main event slot at WrestleMania 37. I don't think it's going to end up happening, which bothers me. You know, Big E's put in his time. He was an Intercontinental Champion before, but he wasn't really pushed. Obviously had a lot of success with the New Day, with Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. Is now on his own, is his own character, is his own man. Though, if you notice, though, he was wearing New Day tights on Friday night. So I don't know if he just hasn't gotten around to getting new gear, or if they're just going to let it continue on. I don't know. But I was happy to see Big E get the win, and Big E end up getting the big coronation. And I love the fact that there was about 2 minutes left in the show when the match ended, and they gave time to see the celebration, to see the baby faces all in the ring lifting him up, but also going to Sami Zayn and seeing just how distraught he was, losing his championship, losing his title. That was big. I should have said this at the beginning of the stream. Feel free to leave your chats in here. I will try to get to them as best as I can if you are watching this live. If you're not, go ahead and leave your comments as well in the replay here on YouTube. I will do my best to get to them. I do not know, and I have to see, I don't know if Super Chats are enabled on my streams. I have to check into that. If they are, great. Go ahead and give me a Super Chat. But if not, well, I got to get that figured out. So, All right. So lots of things to talk about here. I do want to jump into real quick. I do want to talk about a couple things. I'm not going to go play by play of everything that happened this past week in WWE because it was an interesting week to say the least. Monday Night Raw was not a very good show. Top to bottom, I thought it was I don't even want to call it mediocre. It wasn't even a mediocre show. It was a poor show for 3 hours. Coming out of TLC, they mailed it in. They really did. I think the biggest thing to come out of it was more of the the contention, between Sheamus and Keith Lee, which at some point in time in the next week or two, there's going to be a match between those two. And Drew McIntyre, it's funny, Drew McIntyre is the WWE champion right now, and he is playing third wheel to this feud. And really, if you take a look at it, you've got the infighting between Keith Lee and Sheamus. Keith Lee basically calling out Sheamus, saying, hey, you're going to end up turning on your best friend. I know what's going to happen. Then you've got Miz and Morrison, and the whole, well, wait a second, it was Morrison that cashed in the Money in the Bank contract, not Miz, so he should get the contract back. Which then, in that case, AJ Styles could come back and say, now wait a second, if that's true, yes, it's a ladder match, and anything goes, but wait a second, this guy was involved when he shouldn't have been, that cost me my title shot. So rightfully, does AJ Styles have a complaint that he should get another title shot? It's really a big wicked web that they've spun here, and I don't like the direction any of it's going. I don't like the fact that they have laid the groundwork for the Miz to get the Money in the Bank contract back. The booking of Money in the Bank this year was awful. It really was. I mean, they were stuck with having to do a cinematic match because of everything going on. They have Otis literally just kind of fall into it. But I did like it when it happened. I liked it when it happened. But with Drew and Roman as the champions, there was no chance of Otis winning the title. It wasn't going to happen. And then, you get that whole long drawn out thing with Miz and Morrison, Otis and Tucker, Mandy Rose, and just everything that was happening in that. And where did it get us? Absolutely nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. But we've got multiple storylines going on surrounding the WWE champion, and the WWE champion really is not the focal point. He is a bit player in this whole thing. It's kind of a mess, to be perfectly honest. Then you look at the Raw Women's division, which is solely focused on the women's tag team titles. Asuka, I love Asuka. I am a huge fan of Asuka, but she's a paper champion. She has not been given a serious feud since she was given the belt by Becky Lynch back in, the beginning of May? Middle of May? I mean, I remember where I was when it happened. I pulled into a Quick Trip, for those of you in the Midwest that know what Quick Trip is, and had Raw playing on my phone, and I remember seeing Becky Lynch there and everything going on, and I was shocked. I was really shocked with what happened, but it has not been a good division. Now, on the Smackdown side, they've done a fantastic job, but the Raw Women's division has been a complete mess. And again, the focal point right now in that whole division is on the tag team champions. And you see the tag team champions right there. You've got Charlotte Flair and Asuka. And I know the direction they're going with booking this. I do. It's very apparent because you look at the 3 matches that Charlotte Flair and Asuka have tagged. Sunday night at TLC winning the titles. Monday night in the triple threat match. Monday night they took on Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce, which I don't know, another Franken team. And then Friday night, in an extremely good match. That match was fantastic with Bayley and Carmella, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair. You had the entire the meat of the SmackDown Women's Division in this tag team match. And I'm telling you, I posted this on Twitter. I'm going to say it now. Bianca Belair, guaranteed before the end of 2021, will be the SmackDown Women's Champion. If she's not, it is an absolute disservice that WWE has done. But SmackDown, their women's division, doing great things. Raw is a hot mess. And can somebody explain to me why, when Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler were the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, did they ever, prior to the draft, ever make an appearance on the other show? I don't think they ever did. And that division is a mess. I mean, you've got, I don't even want to talk about it, but the build right now, you could tell in the 3 matches, like I said, that Charlotte Flair and Asuka have been together. Charlotte Flair has picked up the pin in all 3 matches. She has won all 3 matches. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. I got to think that through. Did Charlotte get the pin on Friday night? I thought she did. But maybe she did. Oh, you know what? She didn't. Did she? No. But you know that not the deep-seated resentment, but you know the jealousy of Charlotte Flair wanting that singles title, wanting to be Charlotte 2 belts. It's there. So you know, I don't know if they're going to stretch it out. It may not be a bad thing for them to stretch this out where they have a prolonged run. Maybe they have a run as the Women's Tag Team Champions until Elimination Chamber. And then everything implodes. Charlotte turns heel again. She is so much better as a heel than a babyface. She just really is. And then we get Charlotte versus Asuka at WrestleMania, though everybody knows what direction it's going to go. Charlotte is going to be a 13-time champion. You know it. I don't know. The only really good thing... Okay, there was 2 positive things on Raw on Monday night. First of all... Oh, and you know what? I never changed the graphic. All right. See, I'm still getting used to this whole thing. Let me do my service there to Charlotte and Asuka. There's the graphic. But now, I'm going to switch it over to one of the other high spots. These guys right here, the Hurt Business, that's right. The new Raw Tag Team Champions in Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, and the United States Champion Bobby Lashley, who, sadly, Lashley is being underused. Lashley is not being used correctly right now. And that Raw is a mess right now. You take a look at what SmackDown has done with the Intercontinental Championship, and it's been good. They had multiple storylines going on for the title. Bobby Lashley, he beat up Slapjack not that long ago. He hasn't really done much as the champion. There has not really been a true contender. Okay, yes, he had a match with Jeff Hardy, but there really has not been a true contender for his title. They're gearing up for Riddle versus Lashley, most likely at Royal Rumble. Okay, that will be an entertaining match, considering both of these guys have an MMA background. This will be good. But it's been a disservice to Bobby Lashley, who is a dominant wrestler, and really has not been shown at that. But my question for you is, you take a look at this picture, and obviously MVP is the J.J. Dillon of this group. He's the Bobby Heenan of this group. Great on the mic. Obviously the leader. Can still go in the ring. Okay, you know, J.J. Dillon never really could. Bobby Heenan, yeah, kind of. And they keep talking about, they mentioned it on Monday Night Raw. This group has all the gold. This group has all the gold. No, they don't. They're missing one key component. Yes, that WWE Championship. I want to see this group right here of Alexander, Benjamin, and Lashley to have prolonged runs with these titles, because I want to see, after WrestleMania, someone emerge in that group or someone join that group and vie for the WWE Championship. Now, personally, I think Bobby Lashley should lose the United States title. Somebody else comes in, beats Matt Riddle for it, if Riddle's the one that defeats him, and joins the Hurt Business. And then Lashley is the one to go after Drew McIntyre and really push for that, the Undisputed Era style prophecy, what the Four Horsemen did back in the day, where they had all the gold. They were consistently battling for every single major title. That's what they need to do. Because until they get somebody in that group that is a serious contender for the WWE Championship, which Bobby Lashley is, you really can't take the Hurt Business serious. They've got to be that group. And that would be the point in time. You get the four-man group with MVP as their mouthpiece, the fifth person. And that's when you bring up the Undisputed Era right after WrestleMania. And they battle with the Hurt Business. Can you imagine some of those matches? Could you see Roddy Strong and Bobby Fish against Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander? Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Lashley? Adam Cole and whoever that fourth member is going to be. Me personally, even though he's on the other brand, I would love to see Apollo Crews brought back over to Monday Night Raw and put him in with the Hurt Business. Because he's been a heel before. He was a heel on the independent scene and did a great job as it, as Yuha Nation. I'd love to see that happen. Okay, the other thing, and you know where my bias falls in on this. You folks all know this, and you know where I'm about to go with it. But Alexa Bliss. There was a lot of people that were not happy with the Firefly Inferno match, and especially the way it ended. Me personally, I enjoyed that match. I thought all the back and forth and everything else that went on was fantastic. The storytelling, it wasn't a wrestling masterpiece. It is not going to be a Dave Meltzer 5-star match, but it's going to be memorable, and it was entertaining. And the ending was beautiful, with Randy Orton conflicted, but those voices talking to him and that darkness of him, and grabbing the gasoline can and lighting the Fiend on fire and burning him. And the way they played it off, they could have had it. Yeah, Bray Wyatt shows, Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt shows up in the funhouse, and he's all distraught because of the Fiend and everything else. They didn't have a mention of him. I don't think we're going to see Bray Wyatt until right before Royal Rumble. I think there's going to be some things. Randy Orton, we've got 5 weeks. Randy Orton's going to end up in a couple of little mini feuds here and there. Maybe one mini feud to get through the next couple of weeks. But there's going to be those little teasers and hints, and it's going to be Alexa Bliss leading the way. And just her character development again. She made this segment of Alexa's Playground just magical. And saying that Bray went back down into the ground, he went back home, and if he comes back, he will be like nothing Randy Orton has ever seen again. So obviously they're going in a different direction with Bray Wyatt now, which is a shame because I still believe there's so much more they could do with the Fiend, but Bray Wyatt was probably thinking, you know what? I've run my course with this. Vince, let me do something different. I've got another idea. And Vince McMahon is letting him go run with it. Bray Wyatt is turning into The Undertaker in the thought that he can present ideas to Vince McMahon, and he's got a lot of creative control over what he does. There's not a lot of guys in WWE that have that right now. But Bray Wyatt appears to be one of them. So I thought it was fantastic. I love the direction they went with this. Those are really the best two things of the show, though, was Randy Orton and Alexa's Playground and the Hurt Business, you know, seeing them with the belts. Though that whole segment with the Hurt Business in the ring in the MVP lounge was ruined by Matt Riddle. I'm sorry. Riddle drives me nuts. Yes, dude is super talented in the ring. Great athlete, but his character is awful. It's just awful. So, we are on this long and winding road now on our way to the next big pay-per-view for the WWE, which is the Royal Rumble. And we know that most likely this coming week on Raw is going to be a throwaway again. And then you've got the Legends returning, which, why don't you do that next week? Why don't you do that this coming Monday? Why do it for the very first Raw of 2021? I don't know. Which means you're only going to have a 3-week build to the Royal Rumble. And at this point in time, we have no clue, absolutely no clue, what any of the matches are going to be yet. I would think, unless they knock it out in the next 5 weeks, Big E will get, you know, a run with Sami Zayn again. Sami's going to want his title back. You're going to see Keith Lee and Sheamus, as I mentioned before. We'll probably see another match between AJ and Drew between now and Royal Rumble. On SmackDown, you have to think that KO and Roman Reigns is not done yet. Which I hope it's not. That has been extremely entertaining. I loved the storytelling of that match again, where this past Friday night in the steel cage, where neither guy, they kept looking like, what do I got to do? What do I got to do to take this guy down? And it took Jey Uso coming out with handcuffs to cost KO the match. Roman couldn't beat him on his own. But where do you go from a steel cage match? Do you go false count anywhere? Could they potentially, imagine this, if for the first time ever, I think it would be the first time ever, they do a Hell in a Cell match on TV. Imagine if they did that as the final blow-off between these two. Nobody in, nobody out. It's got to be settled, and the only way to do it is Hell in a Cell. I don't think they will, since it's got its own standalone pay-per-view. That would be entertaining, though. So right now, we don't know what's going to end up happening. Sasha Banks, Carmella, that feud is probably still going to continue. Obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if we had Bayley and Bianca at Royal Rumble. We're going to start seeing announcements in the next week or two of, possible people returning for the Royal Rumble. And, who's going to be, hopefully they'll do qualifying matches for the Royal Rumble, so we see some new and unique feuds that we haven't seen yet, or new and unique matches that we haven't seen yet. But I don't know, we'll see. It's going to be really interesting to see what WWE pulls out of their hat over the next couple of weeks. But I'll tell you, SmackDown has been so much better than Raw the last couple of weeks, and I just get this funny feeling it's going to be the same way going into the month of January, which is a shame because you've got some really good talent on Raw, and it's just being squandered. It really is. All right, before I introduce my brand new segment, I want to remind everybody again, if you're just tuning in, please like and subscribe. Would love if you gave a subscribe to this. Going into 2021, hoping to be doing more than one live a week. We'll see how things work out, but also give me a follow on my social media on TikTok at WrestleScope TV, at TV_Wrestle on Twitter, and at WrestleScope on Instagram. All right, so a little precursor here. This segment is being born out of something that I was fortunate enough to be able to do on, I believe it was Thursday. Yes, Christmas Eve was Thursday. And as you know, if you've been following me for a while, you know I am a huge fan of Wrestle Talk on YouTube. If you have not watched Wrestle Talk, please give them a like, give them a subscribe, watch what they do. Absolutely fantastic content on Wrestle Talk, and on their other channel, Wrestle 2, Wrestle and the number 2. They have Alex McCarthy's Wrestle Daily on Wrestle 2, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday afternoons at 2 p.m. Central Time. I believe it would be 8 p.m. over in England, wherever Alex McCarthy is. But they do segments with his random guest host where they will do hot takes, and they'll have videos come in from folks from all around the world on Twitter with their hot takes. And I was fortunate enough, let's see, I don't know, I don't think I have the picture. No, I wasn't able to get the picture in here for it. So I am going to introduce now my new segment, John's Hot Take. And this is basically what I did. I had 30 seconds. And hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. Go ahead and leave your comments if you're watching this in the replay of this video. But my hot take on Wrestle 2, on Wrestling Daily with Alex McCarthy, was Kenny Omega is the most overrated wrestler in America today. So many so-called experts out there talking about him being the greatest wrestler on the planet. Dave Meltzer, gushing over the last couple of years, breaking his 5-star match rule, and giving Kenny Omega 6 and 7-star matches in New Japan. And everybody just talking up a storm about, oh my goodness, the belt collector, and he's back to being the cleaner, and he's going to bring back the Bullet Club and everything else. I think he's overrated. His work here in the United States since the beginning of AEW, and even before AEW began, has been good. He's had a couple of great matches. His mic skills suck. Okay? He is absolutely terrible on the microphone. Why do you think he has Don Callis with him? Don Callis is almost on Paul Heyman level of mic skills. Almost. I'm sorry. Paul Heyman is in his own stratosphere. Okay? There is no one that will ever get to that level that Paul Heyman has. But that's why Don Callis with Kenny Omega is a good matchup. Because Don Callis is good on the mic. He doesn't sound like a goof like Kenny Omega does. Kenny Omega, I'm not saying he's a bad wrestler. He is very good. He has some great matches. But he is not the greatest thing in American professional wrestling right now. Prove me wrong. I encourage you. Jump in the comments. Send me a message on any one of my social media. Prove me wrong. And if Kenny Omega happens to see this, well, first of all, I wouldn't get in the ring with Kenny Omega because I am not a professional wrestler. I am a fan. Never have been a professional wrestler. Never been trained. Okay? Yeah, he'd V-trigger me and it would be over. Wouldn't even need to do the one-winged angel on me. 30 seconds, I'd be done in the match, okay? But he's not the greatest wrestler in America right now. And for those of you that are going to jump in and say, well, obviously you haven't seen any of his matches in Japan. I've seen highlights of his matches in Japan. And yeah, they're great. But Japanese wrestling is a whole different animal. Comparing American wrestling to Japanese wrestling, you just can't do it. Okay? It's like comparing Taco Bell to actual Mexican food. Traditional Mexican food. You can't do it. Okay? I'm saying United States-based Kenny Omega wrestling in the United States right now is not the greatest wrestler in America, and he is overrated. That's my thought. That's my hot take. That's my opinion. I'm going to leave it there. Well, my half an hour is up. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to do my best to do one more show before the end of the year. I'm not going to do a list show. There's plenty of other people doing lists out there. I'm not going to do a year in review, best of. But what I may do, I had a thought and plan, and I just didn't get around to it. I was going to do wrestling Christmas gifts. This goes back to a bit I did on a sports talk show many, many moons ago. That we did on a show where, our Christmas gifts to sports teams, sports athletes, whatever. I was going to do that for professional wrestling. Maybe I'll throw something out there on TikTok this week, throw a few out. I don't know. But I am going to attempt to do some predictions on my show next week. And I will try giving everybody a little bit more advanced warning on when this is going to be on. I only gave about 20 minutes warning on TikTok today. I apologize. But real quickly here, I want to take one more minute to talk about something here. I've mentioned this before. I don't talk about my Patreon. And if you look at my link tree in my bio, I do have a Patreon. I haven't talked about it because I'm still developing a plan. Still working out a plan of what I want to do with Patreon. And I would love to hear from you, the YouTube viewers and the people listening to my podcast. I greatly appreciate it. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, I would love to hear from you. You can email me at WrestleScopeTV@gmail.com. WrestleScopeTV@gmail.com. And let me know what you would like as benefits from a Patreon page. The levels are going to be very easy. It's going to be, $5, $10, $25. I don't think I'm going to go beyond that because I really don't think there's going to be anybody that's going to want to give $50 and $100. We'll see. What would you like? I'm thinking about, a special Patreon only, like mini podcast where I talk about something different. Hopefully somewhere down the line in 2021, maybe there will be WrestleScope merch. I don't know. We'll see. But I want to know what you want. I want to know what you folks want. One thing I want you to do, outside of subscribing to my channel, following me on social media, check out my link tree. I have an Amazon wish list too. I hate asking for things. There's a few little things in there. I may throw, some smaller stuff in there as well. But things to help this broadcast. The big thing I need that I'm working on, and I just can't do right now, is I need a new webcam. I'm using a really crappy, cheap webcam, which surprisingly it didn't try autofocusing on me. The microphone's not that great. I want to upgrade. So if anybody has any suggestions, send them my way. I can throw them into my Amazon wish list. Maybe you can send something my way. I don't know. All right. I got to go, folks. Went a little bit over here, but thank you very much for tuning in. If you're listening to the podcast, hey, check out the video. Would love you to check out the video. Like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media. I am John. This is WrestleScope TV. Enjoy wrestling this week, and have a good one, everybody.